Am I the asshole for not putting away my copy of The Handmaid's Tale? I'm a 20-year-old bookworm living at home with my parents, and recently, my uncle and my 14-year-old cousin moved in temporarily, while their house undergoes repairs. My cousin's been bunking in my room, which is basically a shrine to my love of literature, shelves packed with everything from classics to dystopian novels. My mom, knowing my cousin's young and impressionable, told me to put away any books that might be too mature for her. Fair enough, I thought. I've got a small locked drawer under my desk, so I stashed away some of my more adult-themed novels. Think steamy romance or gritty crime thrillers. But my copy of The Handmaid's Tale? I left that one out, along with a few other dystopian novels like 1984 and Brave New World. The drawer was already bursting, and I had to make choices. Besides, I figured my cousin wouldn't even glance at them. Those books aren't exactly light reading, and my copy of The Handmaid's Tale is scribbled with annotations from when I studied it for A-level English Lit at 16. My handwriting back then was a hot mess, barely legible to anyone but me, with notes like patriarchy clawing your dystopian nightmare scrawled in the margins. I thought it'd be too dense for her to care. A week into their stay, I came home from a shift at the local coffee shop to find my cousin curled up on my bed, flipping through The Handmaid's Tale. She looked engrossed, her brow furrowed like she was trying to decode my chicken scratch notes. Before I could say anything, my uncle stormed in, snatched the book from her hands, and laid into her about reading something inappropriate for her age. Then he turned on me. "How could you be so careless?" he snapped. "Leaving this out where she could find it? She's only 14. I tried to explain that I didn't think she'd be interested and that I'd locked away the really spicy stuff, but he wasn't having it. He said I was irresponsible and that I should have known better than to leave adult content on an open shelf. My cousin, meanwhile, looked embarrassed, muttering that she just thought the cover looked cool. My mom overheard the commotion and gave me a look that said, "I told you so," but didn't jump in to defend me. Here's the thing. I get that The Handmaid's Tale has heavy themes, oppression, misogyny, religious extremism, but it's not exactly 50 Shades of Grey. It's a literary classic, taught in schools, and my cousin's in high school herself. She's not a kid who's never heard of tough topics. Plus, my annotations make it more like a study guide than a scandalous read. I didn't leave it out to corrupt her or anything, I just didn't think it'd be a big deal. My uncle's acting like I handed her a manifesto for rebellion, but I think he's overreacting. Still, part of me wonders if I should have just shoved it in the drawer with the others, even if it meant cramming it in like a sardine can. My cousin hasn't mentioned it since, and now there's this awkward tension whenever my uncle's around. I don't want to make waves while they're staying with us, but I also don't think I did anything wrong. It's my room, my books, and I made a judgment call. On the other hand, I can see why my uncle might be protective. He's her dad, and maybe he thinks 14 is too young for a book that dives into such dark societal issues. My mom's warning did put the responsibility on me to filter what my cousin might access. Maybe I underestimated how curious she'd be, rifling through my shelves while I was out. But locking up every single book feels like overkill, and I don't think I should have to baby-proof my own space to that extent. So am I the asshole for not putting away my copy of The Handmaid's Tale? Am I the asshole for leaving my party for beating cancer? I'm a 35-year-old engineer, married with 2 young daughters, and I've always been a private guy. Social media, not my thing. I don't have accounts, and while I don't stop my wife from posting, I've made it clear I prefer staying out of the spotlight. Birthdays, Father's Day. I like them quiet, just family, no fuss. So when I got diagnosed with an extremely curable form of skin cancer, I treated it like any other problem, analytically. The fatality rate was 0.03%, caught early, and my doctor was optimistic. I wasn't scared, just focused on the next steps. I told my wife, of course, but she was terrified, her eyes wide with worry despite my reassurances. We talked it through, but I could tell she was struggling. I was firm about one thing. We weren't telling our kids aged 5 and 7. They wouldn't understand, and I didn't want them worrying over something I knew I'd beat. My wife wanted to tell them, but she reluctantly agreed to keep it quiet. A week later, I got a call from my dad asking about my cancer. I was floored. Turns out my wife had posted about my diagnosis on Facebook that morning. I called her, pissed that she'd shared my private health info online. She hit me with, "You didn't say I couldn't post it, just not to tell the kids." I couldn't believe it. She knew I'd hate that kind of exposure. After a tense talk, she took the post down, and we moved on, or so I thought. A few months later, my doctor gave me the all clear, saying, "We don't like to say cured, but you're cured." I was relieved, and my wife was over the moon, her shoulders visibly lighter. I figured we could finally put it behind us. Then came Friday. I pulled into our driveway after work, noticing a bunch of cars, some parked on the street, some blocking my spot. No birthdays or anniversaries came to mind, so I walked in, confused. The house was packed with friends, family, even coworkers, all shouting, "Surprise!" Balloons, streamers, a cake with cancer-free and frosting. It was a party for my remission. I froze. My wife knew I hated surprise parties. We'd talked about it multiple times. I felt my face burn with embarrassment as everyone stared, expecting me to smile. I mumbled an excuse about needing files from my office, grabbed some random papers, thanked everyone stiffly, and bolted back to my car. I sat in my office parking lot, scrolling my phone for hours until the party cleared out. I just couldn't face it. That night, my wife and I fought. She was hurt, saying she just wanted to celebrate my health, that I'd embarrassed her by leaving. I told her she knew I'd never want this. She made my private struggle a public spectacle. She cried, saying she'd been so scared during my diagnosis and thought this would be a happy moment for us. I get that she was worried, but she crossed a line. This week we've barely spoken, the air between us icy. My brother heard about it and called me an asshole for lying about work and ditching the party, saying I should have just sucked it up for her sake. Maybe he's right. Maybe I could have stayed for a bit to keep the peace. But I feel like she disregarded my boundaries, knowing how much I hate attention. My cancer was my battle, not a community event. I didn't ask for the party, and I don't think I should have had to grin and bear it. Still, I wonder if I overreacted by walking out like that. So, am I the asshole for leaving my party for beating cancer? Am I the asshole for starting my wedding ceremony before my mom showed up? My wedding day was a whirlwind, like something out of a rom-com with a touch of chaos. I'm the bride, and I'd spent months planning every detail. Flowers, vows, the perfect outdoor venue with fairy lights strung across the trees. The morning started as expected. I was holed up in the bridal suite, getting my hair pinned and makeup perfected, while the venue buzzed with last-minute prep. The invitation clearly stated the ceremony would start at 2 p.m., and I was ready to walk down the aisle, my dress flowing, my heart racing with excitement. My mom, grandma, and a family friend had gone back to their hotel, 20 minutes away, to change and freshen up. They promised they'd be back in plenty of time. I figured no big deal, they know the schedule. By 1:50 p.m., I was ready, but there was no sign of them. The officiant, a sweet older guy with another wedding booked right after ours, kept glancing at his watch. Guests were seated, the string quartet was warming up, and my groom was waiting at the altar, looking sharp in his tux. We held off as long as we could, but by 2:10, the officiant gently nudged me, saying we had to start or he'd be late for his next gig. I nodded, took a deep breath, and walked myself down the aisle, clutching my bouquet a little tighter than planned. The ceremony was beautiful. Vows exchanged, rings slipped on, and a kiss that made my heart soar. But I couldn't help scanning the crowd for my mom. Nothing. It was over in 30 minutes, short and sweet, just as we'd planned. 45 minutes later, as we were mingling with guests, a car screeched into the venue's lot. Out piled my mom, grandma, and our family friend, all dressed to the nines but visibly flustered. I walked over, still in my wedding glow, and calmly told them they'd missed it. "The invitation said 2, I said, trying to keep my tone even. My mom's face twisted and she launched into a tirade. First, she blamed the bakery for not having buns ready. Buns? For what? Then she claimed they got stuck behind a train. Her best excuse? It's your fault for not calling to check where we were. I was floored. It's my wedding day. I'm supposed to be tracking her down? I pointed out the officiant's tight schedule and the fact that 2 p.m. meant 2 p.m., not 2:45. She just kept arguing, her voice sharp enough to cut through the celebratory chatter around us. Later, I found out the real reason they were late. My mom wasn't done getting ready. She'd spent extra time fussing over her outfit and makeup, holding up grandma and our friend. She didn't apologize, just doubled down, saying I should have waited because she's my mother. I get that she wanted to be there. It's a big moment. But I wasn't about to delay the entire ceremony, inconvenience 80 guests, and risk the officiant bailing. My groom and I had a vision for our day, and we stuck to it. Still, part of me feels a pang of guilt. Maybe I could have sent a quick text or had someone call her, but I was caught up in the moment, nervous and excited. She's been cold to me since, acting like I personally excluded her. I think she's deflecting blame, but I wonder if I should have held off a bit longer, even if it meant throwing off the schedule. So, am I the asshole for starting my wedding ceremony before my mom showed up? Am I the asshole for telling my friend she can yank her child when she has one? I'm a 28-year-old new mom, and my life revolves around my 3-month-old daughter. She's my world, but let's just say I'm still figuring out this parenting thing. A few weeks ago, I was driving with my baby in her car seat and my friend 26 in the passenger seat. We'd been close for years, often hanging out for coffee or movie nights. That day, we were headed to the mall when, out of nowhere, a car rear-ended us at a stoplight. It wasn't a major crash, no airbags, no shattered glass, but the jolt was enough to make my heart race. My baby started wailing, her cries piercing the air, and I felt that primal mom panic kick in. I turned around, still buckled in, trying to soothe her with shushing sounds and soft words, but she was hysterical, clearly scared out of her mind. I wanted nothing more than to scoop her up, but I knew enough from parenting classes to keep her in the car seat until help arrived, just in case of injuries. My friend, though, didn't hesitate. She unbuckled and scrambled to the back, reaching for the car seat straps like she was on a mission. I snapped, probably harsher than I meant, "Don't touch her! Leave her in the seat until the paramedics get here." She froze, looking hurt, but backed off. The car wasn't on fire and we weren't in immediate danger, so I stood my ground. First responders arrived minutes later, checked us out, and took us to the hospital for a full evaluation. My baby and I were fine, just shaken, and my friend got the all clear too. While we waited for my daughter's final checks, I explained to my friend why I stopped her. Car seats keep a baby's spine aligned, and moving her could have worsened any unseen injuries, especially something like spinal damage. It's basic safety protocol, and I thought she'd get it. Instead, she went off on me. "You're a bad mom," she said, her voice sharp. "How could you leave her crying like that? She needed you to hold her." I was floored. I'd been trying to protect my baby, not neglect her. Normally, I'd be rocking her, hugging her tight, but this wasn't a normal day. I repeated my reasoning, keeping my tone as calm as I could, but she kept pushing, saying I was cold for not comforting my daughter. I was already frayed, exhausted, stressed from the crash, worried about my baby, and I lost it. When you have your own kid and God forbid you're in a crash, you can yank them out of the car seat and do whatever you want, I snapped. The room went quiet. Her face fell and she muttered that I was an asshole for saying that. She has PCOS and has struggled with fertility, something I knew about. She said my comment was cruel, rubbing in her pain about possibly never carrying a child. I didn't mean to hit that nerve. My frustration was with her judgment, not her personal struggles. I was scared and protective, and I felt like she was attacking my parenting in a moment when I was doing my best. Still, I wonder if I went too far. She hasn't spoken to me since, and I feel this mix of guilt and defensiveness. Maybe I could have explained myself better without the hypothetical jab, but I also think she overstepped by calling me a bad mom. It's been weeks, and the silence between us is heavy. I just wanted to keep my baby safe, but maybe I was insensitive in the heat of the moment. So, am I the asshole for telling my friend she can yank her child when she has one? Am I the asshole for blowing up at my sister for naming her daughter after a fungal infection? I'm a 20-year-old biology student, and my 27-year-old sister, a nurse, just had her first baby. She and her husband had been agonizing over baby names for months, determined to find something unique yet perfect. By her baby shower, 5 weeks before her due date, they still hadn't picked anything, and it was driving her nuts. We're super close, always joking around, so I thought I'd lighten the mood. For her shower gift, alongside a $900 wooden crib from her registry, I gave her a handwritten list of joke baby names. Given her nursing background and my biology studies, I went with names that sound pretty but are actually medical terms or conditions. Think Viagra, hernia, or Candida. One was malassezia, the name of a common fungal infection we're both genetically prone to. It's a yeast that causes itchy, scaly skin patches, and we've both dealt with it since we were kids. The list was obviously a gag, meant to make her laugh, and she did, rolling her eyes at my nerdy humor. 2 weeks later, she called me, beaming, to say they'd finally chosen a name, malassezia. I thought she was kidding, pulling my leg with our shared sense of humor. But no, she was serious. They were naming their daughter malassezia. I choked on my coffee. The name's a mouthful, hard to pronounce, with ass right in the middle and mal meaning bad or evil. Worse, it's literally a fungal infection their kid will likely deal with someday. I asked if she was sure, reminding her it was from my joke list and what it meant. She said she knew it was a joke but loved how it sounded. Exotic, unique. She claimed it was so obscure no one would notice, but I wasn't so sure her husband knew the full context. He's not in healthcare and might have just gone along with it. I couldn't hold back. I told her the name was unacceptable, that it was like naming a kid chlamydia or eczema. I pictured her daughter at 14, Googling her name and finding out it's a skin fungus. I suggested alternatives, Mallory, Azalea, Anastasia, names that sound similar but don't scream medical condition. She got defensive, saying I had no right to dictate her child's name since I'm not a parent. She accused me of overstepping, her voice sharp with pregnancy hormones. I argued she'd regret it once the baby was born, that she wasn't thinking straight. She hung up and we haven't talked since. It's been tense and I'm worried I came on too strong. On one hand, I get it. It's her kid, her choice. Maybe the name's obscurity means no one will connect it to a fungus, and it does have a certain lyrical ring out of context. But I can't shake the feeling she's setting her daughter up for embarrassment. As her brother, I felt I had to be honest, especially since my joke list sparked this mess. I didn't mean to upset her, but I couldn't stay quiet about such a wild choice. Still, I wonder if I should have been gentler, maybe approached it with less judgment. Our relationship's usually rock solid, and this fight feels like a crack in it. I just want what's best for my niece, but maybe I crossed a line by calling her decision unacceptable. So am I the asshole for blowing up at my sister for naming her daughter after a fungal infection? Am I the asshole for celebrating my birthday without my friends after they rescheduled around babysitters again? I'm a 26-year-old woman working as a server, and my college friend group has been my rock for years. We're tight, game nights, brunches, the works. But there's one big difference between us. I'm the only one without kids. Everyone else is juggling toddlers and infants, and it's shifted our dynamic. They've started planning adults-only events, fancy dinners, wine tastings, cool stuff I'd love. Problem is, these always happen during my evening and weekend shifts when their babysitters are free. I've got a flexible day schedule, so I've asked multiple times for daytime hangouts or weekday meetups. They always nod, saying, "Yeah, we'll try that next time," but it never happens. It's like my job doesn't count as a real responsibility compared to their parenting duties. Last month was my breaking point. My birthday landed on a Sunday, and I was stoked to celebrate with them. I specifically asked for a daytime thing since I had to work that night. They agreed, brunch and maybe a fun activity. I was thrilled, picturing mimosas and laughs. Then, the day before, the group chat blew up. Sarah's babysitter canceled but could do 7 p.m., so they moved the whole thing to the evening. I stared at my phone, gutted. I reminded them I was working, but the responses were like, "Oh, we'll make it up to you." I was done. I'd bent over backward to fit their schedules, missing out because their babysitter issues always took priority. My birthday wasn't just another hangout. It was my day, and I felt invisible. So I made other plans. I called up some coworkers who were free during the day, and we had a blast. We hit a local diner for brunch, laughing over stacks of pancakes, then tackled an escape room, snapping selfies as we cracked the puzzles. I posted the pics on social media, grinning like a fool because it was genuinely the best time. Later, I saw messages from my friend group, upset that I didn't tell them I'd changed plans. They called me petty, saying I should understand how hard it is to find childcare. One even texted, "You know how it is with kids." But do I? I'm not a parent, and I get that childcare's tough, but I'm tired of being the only one expected to compromise. My job's not just a side hustle, it's how I pay my bills. I feel for them, I do. Raising kids sounds intense, and I've seen how frazzled they get, but I've never asked them to skip a kid's soccer game or reschedule a pediatrician appointment for me. I just wanted one day where my schedule mattered too. They could have stuck to the original plan, or at least talked to me before switching it. Instead, I felt like an afterthought. Now they're acting like I betrayed them by celebrating without them, and it stings because I love these friends. I wonder if I should have just told them I was making other plans instead of letting them find out through my posts. Maybe that was a bit passive-aggressive. But after months of feeling sidelined, I wanted a birthday that was about me, not their babysitters. I had so much fun with my coworkers, but this rift with my friends has me second-guessing. Should I have sucked it up one more time for the sake of the group? So, am I the asshole for celebrating my birthday without my friends after they rescheduled around babysitters again?